Yo, YouTube, it's your bro, Yo Elliott, back here after 2 weeks of kind of taking a break, doing things around the gym, staying in shape, but not hitting the weights like I did previously, right? So I want to thank those of you who have been following me through this series, right up to the climax last week or the week before, when I competed in my strongman show and took first place. So since then, I've just been kind of like revamping and re-strategizing and reapproaching many different things, including my diet. I'm fasting again, so I've been doing prolonged fasting, starting every Monday, 72 hours out to Wednesday. That's the way I did it. That's the way I teach it during the rational fasting program, so you guys have been following that. And so along with that, I'm looking to have sort of a shift in my body composition, right? Like I got real swole there for a moment. I was getting fat, right? But it was all for the strongman show. And so what I want to do is develop a plan that allows me to stay lean, keep getting strong, and then compete next summer or in 2022, June 2022, for the Masters National Strongman Show. So it's giving me some time to experiment with things. And today, we got a great experiment, and I got a guest. So this is my boy Jay Vincent, and we met through the 21 convention, right? So we both speak to men about being stronger men, right?
That's right.
And we have a unique connection in that not only are we into masculinity and teaching men how to maintain their frame as strong men in a weak world, but Jay's a bodybuilder, he's a lifter. You can tell he's pretty freaking jacked, and he also has a method of training that's fairly unique, very unique in the aspect of fitness today. So I'm going to learn from him. He's going to take me through a workout using his method. Tell me about it.
So what I use is something called high intensity training. So this is not new. This has been around since the 70s, if you're familiar with Nautilus equipment, right? Mm-hmm. Arthur Jones developed this equipment around a set of principles called high intensity training principles. So what he found over the past like 50 years of training, that what the muscle responds best to is just huge intensity of effort. Now you got a lot of bodybuilders in the gym who preach volume, but there's a problem with that. Most of these bodybuilders are drug enhanced, and most of them can tolerate that level of volume. Not only that, the intensity of effort is what drives the muscle growth stimulus and the strength stimulus. So if you're making the body stronger, you're growing muscle. How much muscle you grow and how strong you get, it's really going to depend on your diet, your genetics, but this has been found through research to be the most efficient, effective, and safe way to train. So you, for instance, longevity is the key.
Oh, yeah.
Yours, especially in the off season, you want to get as strong as possible and reduce chance of injury as possible. So this protocol, it focuses on lifting and lowering the weight slowly, putting maximum tension on the muscle, and generating a level of effort that is far beyond what most people do. And what this does is it induces the stimulus much more effectively, much more intensely. But with the lifting and lowering slowly, it makes getting injured almost impossible. So it's a great off-season approach for athletes, strongmen, even bodybuilders like myself. I'm a published fitness model. I've been in all the magazines. And I've been doing this protocol, just one set to failure, done slowly, really intensely, just about twice a week. And I developed a fantastic physique doing this. So my mission is really to show people the real science behind training. Yeah. A lot of people just kind of follow the leader. Whoever looks good, whoever does well in a strongman competition, they kind of replicate what they're doing without taking into consideration, of course, the genetics, the drugs, and all those other factors. So physiologically, the research shows this is the way to do it. And I've been doing it for a decade, and it worked for me, and it works for, you know, I've trained about 15,000 personal training sessions, got a couple studios in New York, never had an injury. Everybody improved.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. I mean, people look at this protocol and they're like, that can't possibly work, just one set. But when I take you through and I show you what a set feels like, then you're going to understand. Because you know, the purpose of this exercise, or the purpose of exercise, is not to just lift the weight up and down an arbitrary number of sets of reps. It is to deeply and aggressively fatigue the muscle to set in motion a stimulus for adaptation. And that stimulus is deep, aggressive level of muscle fatigue. You can do this in one set, so it's highly efficient.
One set. Amazing. So I'd imagine shorter workouts.
Yeah, they have, well, think about it this way. I mean, if intensity of effort is what drives the stimulus, they have to be short by nature. You couldn't tolerate a long workout.
Right.
The reason a lot of bodybuilders and average gym goers stay in the gym for so long is because they're working with a very low intensity of effort in order to accommodate whatever volume they think they're supposed to have. And they're really missing the key component of stimulating your muscle, which is just training it really hard and intensely.
Right.
And again, it's pretty uncomfortable, so not a lot of people like it.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a masochist. I like lifting heavy stones and throwing crazy shit around, but I'm not looking forward to this workout because I know it's going to be painful.
It's going to feel different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what I like to explain to people, think about the point of the exercise where you want to stop. High intensity training is reaching that threshold and pushing past it.
Yeah.
That's what stimulates the muscle. That's what actually stimulates the muscle. Think about it. Why would a muscle get stronger? Because it can't handle something the environment is placing on it, a demand.
Right.
So if you lift to the point where your muscles completely cook out, that's the stimulus. That is giving your muscles a reason to grow stronger. Sure, a lot of people see results doing anything, because you'll see results doing anything at first. But with this, you progressively overload over time, and you're continuously providing that stimulus over time, so your body continues to improve.
That's incredible. Well, I'm looking forward to giving it a shot, man.
Yeah.
And so today I'm just going to follow your lead. I'm going to do some of the exercises that you show me and get a feel for what this kind of training is about. And then what I'd like to do is kind of integrate it into my routine moving forward, particularly for the upper body. I feel like that's the area where I'm kind of falling off. So you show me, I follow your lead, and we're going to make it happen here today, dude.
Yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
We'll start with the upper body first, then?
Okay, yeah.
So go ahead and lay down first.
Okay.
So I'm going to set these bar catchers in a position to where it's going to be just above your chest. A little bit higher. So the important part about training like this is you need to have all these safety things in place, because you're going to be reaching failure. By failure, I mean the part where you absolutely cannot get another repetition. This is what drives the stimulus. So things like these safety bars, they have to be in place. You can do this protocol with free weights. It's a little easier for beginners to do with machines if they don't have an instructor. But safety is key, because here's the thing.
Let's just see if it's even. These numbers are a little weird. Okay.
Yeah. Just go ahead and lay under there. I want to see kind of where it's lined up. That's about good. How are your shoulders? You don't have any shoulder problems or anything, do you?
No, not really. My right shoulder is a little unstable because I tore this bicep and it never really healed. But it's not a problem. It's just a little uncomfortable.
And that's the thing. A huge component of this too is we want to minimize peak forces, because
Peak force. What do you
so
mean by
peak
that?
force is injury is caused by forces, by excessive forces. There's a certain amount of force your connective tissue can withstand before it fails. Lifting quickly, mass times acceleration, is force. That's why power lifters, they kind of rely on force to get the weight up, and that over time will wear and tear the joints of connective tissue, and that's why you end up with a biceps tear.
Yeah, I mean, all I do is force. I think that I'm just a forceful trainer.
Well, that's your competition. That's the thing.
Right.
There's the competitive lifts, and then there's training the muscle. They're two different things.
Right.
If you want to increase the strength of the muscle fiber as much as possible, you want to reduce peak forces as much as possible, so that way momentum isn't helping carry the weight.
Right.
And then you practice the skill-specific lifts like the stone or the deadlift or the squat in conjunction with this, because those are skill-based movements.
Right.
So in the off-season, you want to make your body as strong as possible and as injury-resistant as possible, and then practice the skill component. At your level, you've already probably hit the ceiling when it comes to skill with these lifts. You've probably gotten as good as you can. So in my personal opinion, your focus right now should be making everything as strong as possible and injury-resistant as possible, because you got the skill. And then take that improved body, and then in conjunction with the skill, you'll perform better.
I like it. Sounds good. Makes sense.
And the difference here is, like, most people on the bench press are going to start from up here, right? You want to actually start each exercise in the hardest part of the range of motion, so you know what weight you can handle. Most people will start it up here with their elbows locked out. there's no moment arm on the chest. That means the chest is not doing much work. You can literally touch your chest and it's, you know, you want to start down here.
Okay.
The hardest part of the range of motion. So our starting position is actually going to be down here.
Okay.
And our ending position is going to be there too. Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So if the goal of exercise, right, create tension in the targeted muscle area, aggressively fatigue it to a point it is not used to. That's what stimulates it.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to use a weight generally that allows us to do that within about 8 to 12 repetitions.
Okay.
But here's the difference between the way I train, the way I instruct, the way most people train is I have people lift very slowly.
Slowly.
Because if you're lifting slowly, you're creating what's called continuous load on the muscle. If the muscle is continuously loaded, it's continuously fatiguing. It's going to make it more efficient, more effective. Also eliminating those peak forces so you can't get hurt. And you'll notice when you lift like this, it's much harder because your muscles get no break. So it takes a little bit of getting accustomed to.
Yeah, I bet.
But you'll find that after some practice, you get a level of fatigue in your muscle that you've never felt before. It's insane. So I'll kind of demonstrate what a bench press would want to look like. First of all, especially on the bench press, you want to start in the lower position. Make sure I'm
Have a longer bench if you want to.
So with each exercise, again, the point is to load the muscle. So you want to start each exercise slowly. You almost want to barely move it and maintain proper form at all times. So at the beginning of the exercise, you want to just barely move it, and then you want to take about 5 seconds coming up, avoiding lockout, and then really concentrate on the eccentric lowering phase. And then slowly come out of the bottom. So this way the muscle is not getting any rest, and then the muscle, and you're not generating peak forces, so you cannot get hurt. A lot of people tear their deltoids or rotator cuffs because of this fast change in direction in the position. But doing it this way, you're not going to have that fast change in direction, and your rotator cuff and everything is going to be protected. And then we just continue this cadence, always maintaining perfect form until you get to the point where you go to push and you have absolutely nothing left. And at that point, I'm going to squeeze as much effort out of you to get you as far past that threshold, that failure threshold as possible. So the point of each exercise is to fail.
Yeah.
Okay, we don't want to see...
Fail, meaning like absolutely, like drop the bar. You can't do any more.
You want to get to the point where literally if a gun was put to your head, you could not get another repetition. So that, well, think about it. The only 2 scenarios the human body or an animal would use this much muscular effort or energy is if it were trying to obtain food through hunting or trying to prevent itself from becoming food. These 2 scenarios are essential for survival and propagating its DNA into the future. So basically what we're trying to do is replicate that scenario with weights. That's pretty much all it is. It's stimulating an evolutionary signal in the body. And that signal is putting it in a position where it feels like it's going to die.
Okay.
In a nutshell. It's
sure, yeah. It is.
So, yeah, so we just go ahead. I just kind of want you to practice kind of lifting and lowering slowly.
So I saw you moving the bar real slow. Are you doing any contracting?
No.
While you nothing, just moving
yeah,
it?
There's all this kind of like, I mean, I don't know where this came from, but like maintaining a tight core or scapular retraction, you can maintain that too.
Squeezing the bar, shit like that.
The point is, like, this exercise, the point is to generate tension in the targeted muscle area, which is going to be the chest and deltoids.
Okay.
So you want to focus on creating tension in that area.
Okay. And all I'm going to do is just go slowly.
Yeah.
Don't do anything else.
Take about, actually you're going to want to scoot up a little bit. Take about 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down, and just focus mentally on maintaining tension on the target muscle area, which is the chest. We don't really care.
So I don't even need to go to the bottom?
Not really, no.
So partial movement, even to the top, I don't have to go?
Right, you don't want to lock out because that reduces the moment arm effectively to 0. And by moment arm, I mean For instance, say you're holding weight in here. There's no moment arm between the weight and your body. It's very light. The more you take it out here, the longer the moment arm you create. It's basic physics. The more tension is placed on the fulcrum or the pivoting area, which is going to be the muscle. So right here, you've got the longest moment arm between the chest and the resistance. But when you come all the way up and lock the elbows out, you effectively have zero moment arm. That is why people, without even realizing it, lock out, to give their muscles a break.
Yep.
Because your body was designed to conserve energy. But the purpose of a workout is to reduce its momentary strength and energy as aggressively as possible. So this, this method doesn't work if you want to like see how much weight you can lift.
Sure.
But it works if your goal is to stimulate the muscle.
Okay.
And get it stronger. So yeah, you want to lift and lower for about 5 seconds and focus on the target muscle area. So let's put like a 25 on, just so you can feel like a little bit heavier.
You got one right there.
If you're doing free weights, you're going to want a spotter, because when you reach failure...
So when you say a spotter, does this count? Because I generally train by myself.
Yeah, you could do it that way. You
or
just
need
need
somebody to like help me force the rep?
Better to help get what's called a forced rep.
Okay.
So when you've reached failure, you want somebody who understands the concept to give you just enough resistance to carry the muscle through failure through the entire range and then set it.
And then it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the kind of failure. It's like,
right.
I've failed, but I've gotten some help. Mm-hmm. Quick question. Is this analogous to like a drop set? I know it's not exactly the same, but can you get a similar stimulus if, like, say I failed with a certain weight, then I made it a little lighter and then continue to do a few more?
Could do that. But the research done by James Fisher and James Steele out in the UK, there are a couple of exercise scientists, they compared, those are called set extenders. They compared drop sets, rest pause, or static contractions at the end of the set with just going to failure. The results are exactly the same.
Exactly the same?
Exactly the same. It provides no additional benefit to do a drop set if you're already appropriately reaching failure. So a lot of people find that this helps because they're not training hard to begin with. If they do a set where they start to approach failure and they set it down, which most people do, then yes, if they strip it, do another set, they're going to get a little more what's called inroad, or more easily explained as muscle fatigue, and they found that they got a better stimulus that way when they could have just reached failure on the first set and got the same thing.
Okay.
There's a lot of wasted time in the gym, and it's simply because people just don't understand the physiology of training and stimulating the muscle.
Okay. Well, you're going to show me, and we're going to do it now. We're going to do it with 95 pounds. I kind of like the idea of going light.
We're going to start light. I kind of want you to get a feel for the cadence. And changing direction is super important. You never want to hurt, you never want to jerk or heave anything. You want to maintain continuous load on the muscle. So just kind of practice slowly controlling the weight. The reason a bench press or another barbell exercise might be a little more difficult for people is because there is a lot of skill involved with this. So if you're new to bench pressing, you'll notice you kind of feel probably a little wobbly, right? That's where a machine kind of comes into play and is a little more help, because it kind of eliminates a lot of the skill component there. Just focus on just controlling the weight and placing tension on the chest. And when it comes to breathing, you want your face and jaw to be as relaxed as possible and just continuously breathe. Unlike powerlifting, where you want to hold your breath for the Valsalva maneuver,
right,
you want to just continue to breathe. Because again, the goal of exercise, actual exercise, is not to get the weight up. Anything you're doing to help yourself get the weight up is generally a step in the wrong direction.
That's so contrary to everything I've done.
Well, everything works, that's the thing. But what is the most efficient? What is the safest?
Right.
And this is that. And a good way of looking at it is, just because somebody achieved some result using some particular method, it's not necessarily proof that they couldn't achieve the same or better results with a different method. So just a couple more, just to kind of get you warmed up. How's that weight feel? Pretty light, right?
Yeah. Going slow is a new thing for me.
Oh yeah. It is going to take a little bit of practice. just go one more, and then I'm going to just help you rack it. Come back nice and slow.
Okay.
And now we'll do a working weight on it. Most of the time, I think a lot of people, they could just, they might want to do a couple warm-up sets and get a feel for the exercise. So there's really no physiological benefit to a warm-up. It's all psychological.
Really?
Yeah. Because if you're performing a set to failure, the first couple of repetitions that aren't that difficult, they're your warm-up.
Sure.
But with a skill-based movement, you're probably going to want a practice set. It's like taking a practice swing with a golf club, right? You're probably going to want a practice set just to kind of get your nervous system ready for this muscle recruitment pattern. So we'll put a little more on here. Let's see, you probably at about 185.
Okay.
You bench quite a bit, don't you?
It's not my forte.
Okay.
But 185 I can get, if I'm going really slow, 8 to 10 reps is what you said, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you were aiming for?
Yeah, you want about 8 to 12 reps, because here's the thing.
Okay.
If you're performing each repetition at about 5 seconds each direction, that comes out to 1 minute to 2 minutes of time under load. What volume is not sets and reps. It is time under meaningful load. So 60 to 120 seconds of time under load going slowly is equivalent to what most people are doing in the gym in like 5, 6, or 7 sets, because they're lifting fast.
Sure.
So each set, you know, if they're lifting like this, each set probably lasts about 10 seconds. 3 sets, they've only got about 30 seconds of time under load. We're doing 2 or 3 times the volume in just 1 set, just by moving slowly. So people look at this and they say it's a low volume workout. No, it's not. It's generally more volume than traditional approaches.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Condensed.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yeah.
So let's throw another 45 on there.
Okay. Got that? And so, I've got a question. What type of energy is most appropriate for this kind of lifting? In other words, if I'm full of glycogen, because I've been eating a bunch of oranges and white rice, is that going to be more beneficial to this type of lifting? Or could I be in keto and lift this way? Is there a difference?
If you're fat adapted,
Right.
so if you've been doing keto for quite some time, your body can probably break down that fat
Sure.
tissue and those ketones use it as energy. But for newbies doing keto, it's going to be a little tough. That's the thing. But keto, for most people, is going to hinder their performance a little bit because glucose and glycogen is readily available in the muscle for things like this. There's a little longer process converting a ketone into useful energy.
Okay.
So people will notice when they do ketosis, they'll have a little less energy for training. But again, the purpose of training is not performance. It's not to see how well you can do. It is to stimulate the body.
Right.
So if you're not doing as well but still stimulating the body, that's fine.
Okay.
I'm personally not a big ketosis person. Again,
Sure.
the research shows like when it comes to fat loss, it's all the same. I mean, if you're in a calorie deficit, whether it's high carb, low carb, doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So I'm not like a huge ketosis guy.
Okay,
But
good question. Yep, I'm there with you. It's tough as a strong man to be low on glycogen. It's almost impossible. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing here.
Yeah.
Now doing 185. All right, let's do it.
And I'm going to instruct you through the whole thing. So when I train people, I literally talk them through the whole thing. Most personal trainers, they're kind of like workout caddies or cheerleaders. They just say, good job, one more. I'm going to instruct you throughout the entire exercise to make sure you're doing it perfectly.
All right.
Looking forward to what you want to do is, again, when you begin the exercise, you want to lift the weight very slowly. You want to slowly allow your muscles to engage and start recruiting the target muscle area, which is going to be your chest.
Start from here, slowly.
Yep. And you're going to take your time, about 5 seconds down, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, and then ease out and squeeze the chest. 2 there, and then down, 5, 4, 3, 2. Ease out and squeeze the chest. Good. Remember, always focus on changing direction slowly at the bottom. This will keep the muscle engaged and almost eliminate peak forces, which is why people hurt the rotator cuffs. Perfect. And always be breathing continuously. Perfect. Right back down. 4, 3. Keep going. Ease out. Engage the chest. Good. Keep breathing and pushing. We're going to go to a point that your body is going to be very uncomfortable in. You're going to feel like you cannot move the weight, but in perfect form, you're going to continue to contract as hard as you possibly can. When you're pushing as hard as you can, you're engaging fast twitch motor units. These are the ones you want to target for strength. Good. Come right back down and breathe. Good. Easy out. Squeeze the chest. Good. One more. You're going to get stuck and just continue to push for 5. Continue to push. 4. Perfect form. 3. Keep pushing. 1. And back. How does that feel?
Pretty impossible. That last rep.
Now, since you're a beginner,
Wow.
we're going to do a drop set. Hop back in. Eventually, when you get used to this type of training, you're not going to need a drop set, but I have a lot of beginners doing them to, again, get that level of inroad that's going to be required to make the body respond.
Okay.
So even though this is a little lighter, you're probably going to get about 4, 5, 6 reps and fail again. Just start nice and slow. Control down. And then ease out, engage the chest. Avoid lockout, change direction, slow back down. Perfect. Remember, think about what you're doing to the muscle with the weight. Don't think about what you're doing to the weight with the muscle. This is very important. Good, you're almost there. Continue to push. Now just get the negative for 5 seconds. Ready? 5, 4, keep going down. 3, keep going down. Keep going down. Keep going down. Ready? We're going to get another negative. Up. Get it. 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 more negative. I'm going to help you up. And 5, good, hold it. 3, hold it. 2, hold it. And back.
Wow.
That's it.
It's like hitting a brick wall. Yeah. There's nothing left there. And I really needed you to help me on those last 2 reps.
Yeah, and then another thing you can do is you can just, especially beginners, incorporate negatives to really get that additional inroad. But when you're getting to the point where you cannot move the weight, you've already addressed and engaged all the muscle fiber. You're engaging fast twitch muscle fiber. And that's the fiber recruited for things that require a high amount of contractile force, like sprinting, lifting a stone, or just lifting heavy objects.
Say that again. So, say it again.
So fast twitch motor units are fast twitch muscle fiber. These fibers are thicker in nature. They have more contractile proteins in them, which means they can produce more contractile force. Your slow twitch motor units are these little fibers, not much contractile force. Your body uses them for endurance-related activities like walking, stuff like that. They don't have much hypertrophy potential. Fast twitch motor units have all the hypertrophy potential. So you want to address, engage, fatigue, and stimulate those. You address and recruit those by training to failure, or a very dangerous way that most people have found a way to do it is simply lift heavy things quickly. So explosive movements are going to engage fast twitch motor units. The only problem is high peak forces. So you're susceptible to injury. Yeah,
that's all I do.
That's why you've seen huge improvements in strength and explosiveness. You're a very fast runner too, right? You're on like a 4.340.
Yep, I've also torn both biceps.
Yep, and that is from high peak forces. So you can still address these fast twitch motor units moving really slowly as long as you take it to failure, because they're recruited in sequential order. It's called Henneman's size principle. So the first couple of repetitions that aren't that demanding, you're using the slow and intermediate fast twitch motor units. Then when this becomes intense, fast twitch motor units kick in, and that's when you start using them. And these are the ones that grow. So if you're not hitting fast twitch motor units, your growth is going to be extremely limited.
Okay.
But another thing about that is when you hit them and fatigue them, they're done. You can't stimulate them again. That's why if you did another set after this, you'd just be retracing slow and intermediate twitch motor units, the ones that don't grow. If you train to failure, you hit the fast twitch, any additional set after that provides no additional benefit. The huge thing, and the reason most people can withstand so many sets is because they're not engaging the fast twitch motor units.
Right. Yeah, I've been there where I've done 3, 4 sets of an exercise, but I almost feel like, I don't feel like I did anything.
Right. And that was because you had, you know, the arbitrary number of sets and reps that you had to complete. Again, you know, you have whatever bodybuilder saying, I do 5 sets of 12, and then some follower does 5 sets of 12 and expects magic to happen. But if you don't stimulate the muscle, those 5 sets of 12 mean
a waste of time.
That's just, you know, a lot of people go in the gym and they don't train their muscles, they just use their muscles. Interesting. Moving things around. Yeah. But the goal of the exercise is
I totally feel that I trained my muscles right now. I mean, to have a pump like this and to feel as fatigued in my chest and my triceps from one set of bench press is something I've never experienced.
Yeah, and another, you know, what you want to do too with this protocol, if you can, is move relatively quickly.
Meaning
in between exercises.
From exercise to exercise.
The rule of thumb is always move slowly during exercise, but quickly between them, because then you're going to keep your heart rate elevated. You're going to get a heck of a lot of cardiovascular benefit out of that too.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So if you can, you want to set your workout in order, so you can only take about 30 to 60 seconds in between. Because again, the goal is deep muscle fatigue systemically throughout your whole body. It's going to respond a little better if you move a little quicker. A lot of people don't move quick because they can't lift as much weight because they have the wrong objective of exercise. Their goal is to lift the most weight. The weight just comes along for the ride. That's all.
I like that.
I got that from Ken Hutchins. I didn't make that up.
Yeah, I hear you though. It's a good.
Yeah, so
good insight.
Good combination with this for you would be like just a drop set and then immediately over to like a rowing movement. You want to work all the upper body together. And then
so drop set, if I don't have help, maybe I'll get one of my kids to help me or something. But if I'm here by myself, would mean to do that set with the slow, short range, putting a lot of stimulus on the muscle. But if I fail, setting it down and then adding a little bit less weight.
And then immediately strip it off, go again to failure.
Okay.
And if you feel you still have a little juice left, like you should feel at the end of a set that you can't do another.
Sure.
So if you do that drop set and you still feel like you got a little juice left, you haven't necessarily inroaded enough, you do it again. But over time when you get good at this, you're going to find that you can only tolerate one set.
Okay.
Like, for instance, personally, if I do a set to failure, even if I wait a minute, 2 minutes, I can only get 3 reps on the next set because they're cooked. So it does take a little practice.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So you want to go from like, you know, a horizontal push with the anterior muscles to like a row.
Okay.
So we go into a row.
Seated rows here, we do bent over rows. You let me know.
Let's see. What can you do? Oh, you can do seated rows on this?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. So I usually leave that there, so I can put my feet on it. It's not like an actual seated row machine.
Let's see. So when you're doing a row, what weight do you usually use?
So, because I'm doing it like a beast, I usually throw dumbbells. I stack it, I put dumbbells on there, and I'm banging them out. But if I'm going to go as slow as you showing me, stack maybe would be a good place to begin.
Going to want it, when they start training this way with this cadence, they're going to want to reduce their weight by about 20 to 40%.
I think just using the stack by itself, that would probably be a good place to begin.
It's just the full stack.
Well, these things aren't so heavy.
So let me put something light on it. I'm just going to kind of show you what the form of the cadence will look like.
Okay.
So on pushing movements, extension movements, you don't want to lock your elbows out, right? On a rowing movement, a flexion movement, you want to hold the contraction for 1 to 2 seconds before.
Not all the way in?
You can go as far as you want, really.
Hold it, you said, for 4 seconds?
I would hold it for 1 to 2 seconds and then slowly change direction and then avoid fully locking out your elbows here.
Oh, I see. So stop right about there.
So you don't want to roll your shoulders forward because that's going to take the tension off the working muscle, which in this case is going to be the lats, rhomboids, trapezius, rear delts. And another thing that a lot of people like to do with this, they like to lean back, right? Because again, in their mind, make the handles move and make the weight move. But you always want to keep your torso upright like that. If you want to hit the lats a little more, you could lean back, but you want to stay in that position. That's exactly how you want it to look. So your goal and your focus is to squeeze and contract here. Just mentally be thinking that the whole time, loading that muscle tissue. So that's the cadence, and you want to replicate that cadence with heavier weight. Go ahead, set that one down. Then work our way down. See what you're made of. Pause in the contracted position. And then 5 on the way down. 5, 4, gradual. 3, 2, and slowly change direction here and engage the muscles. Perfect. Hold and contract, and down for 5, 4, 3, 2. Slowly change direction again. And squeeze the lats, rhomboids, traps. You basically just want to punish the targeted muscle group. Think about just punishing the muscle. You should almost look like a robot doing this. You're doing it perfectly. You don't want anything else on your body moving. You want nothing helping you get the weight up. You want only the targeted muscle group moving this resistance. Perfect. It's going to start getting a little more intense now. You're going to start engaging the fast twitch motor units, and you want to continue to breathe and squeeze. Good. Go. We're getting into them. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. Hold for 1. Hold for 2. Back down easy. Keep the muscles loaded. Slow change of direction. Squeeze the rhomboids. Breathe and squeeze, 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 squeeze. Good hold. Perfect. Got just a couple more left in the tank here. They're going to get really tough here. You want to stay focused and try not to let the muscle rest at all. You want to make it as difficult and intense as possible. That's what stimulates your body. Here you go, coming back. Continue to pull, continue to pull. Hold and breathe, down slow. It's going to be tough, but down slow. Again, slowly change direction. This is when your body wants to jerk the weight. Here we go. Good, 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 good. Keep squeezing. A little closer. And hold 2 seconds. 1, back down slow. We're going to shoot for 2 or 3 more. They're going to feel nearly impossible. Go ahead, right back. Perfect. Maintain the form. Maintain the form. We got 2 more. Do not quit. I can tell you have them in you. Easy back again. Pull hard. Hold. Good. Down again. Slow. Remember, don't rest at the bottom here. Back and breathe. Go. Good. Slow. You got more. We're going. 1 more. Slow. Slow. This is failure right here. Ready? Easy back. Easy back. Hold and breathe. 5 seconds. 4. Hold it. 3. Hold it. 2. Very slow to the bottom. Very slow. Very slow. And gently set it down. Beautiful.
Man.
See, it's easier to instruct on a machine because all that skill is taken out of it. So
Right.
see how much harder you can push when you take away a skill-based movement?
Right.
A little different, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, it could be chills. How'd that feel?
Like nothing ever before. You know, it requires so much mental fortitude, so much discipline. Like, if you weren't there, I would have quit 1 or 2 reps before that. I could see these something that transforms a person's mind and approach to life completely. Because as the discomfort shows up, the concentration has to improve. For me, when the discomfort shows up, I just go balls to the wall and lose form, go crazy, be a beast, as opposed to zeroing in on that form and focusing on the muscle. It's crazy.
You can harness that energy. Just maintain the form.
Right.
Like, when I'm reaching failure, in my mind, I'm trying to kill the thing.
Yeah.
But stoically.
Right.
Maintaining form, you know, you can put a ton of aggression into an exercise and maintain stoicism at the same time.
That's a new thing for me.
Mm-hmm. So, let's see. When it comes to how many pull-ups could you do normally?
I mean, I'm so pumped right now, it's crazy. One set. So, without a band?
I would use the band.
With the band?
Yeah.
Normally I can get 8 to 12.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't done it in a while. Well, I think that sounds about right.
We should do, let's do the shoulders first. So you want to go from an anterior muscle group to a posterior muscle group and switch them. Okay. Because what they found was if you work the muscle's antagonist, in this case we're doing a row, the antagonist to the row is the anterior muscle groups, it helps that recover. So if you were to go from this row to this pull down, you'd cook right out.
Oh yeah.
But if you do like an overhead or a dumbbell raise, you'll find that you have a little more to put into that set. Okay. So that's why personally I like to switch them, and I always have all my clients switch them.
Wow, my forearms are on fire. Yeah. You know, the only thing that kind of gives me that sort of pump, and I guess I understand now why, is farmer's carries. Because, you know, I'm holding it for a long time. Very similar. I never get a forearm pump like that with anything else.
Yeah, and the forearms work so hard during that. You could do additional, you know, flexion and extension exercise, like if you're a newbie, you need to even things out, but that's going to work your forearms really, really hard. Yeah. There's really no need. So, let's see. We do a deltoid raise, I think, is overhead press. Well, unless you prefer an overhead, do you ever do that exercise?
Overhead press?
Yeah.
That's all I do. That's my #1 pressing movement.
Let's do it.
It's overhead.
In that case, because you know, you probably have a lot of skill with it, which is good.
So let me ask you a question. I mean, I can go either way, but I have a neutral bar that I often use because I press the log a lot.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, let's use the neutral bar just to change it up a little bit.
When it comes to bar, it's really preference. I mean, some people will sell you that like some bar is gonna have some kind of different response. It's not.
Yeah, well, the reason why I use this is because it simulates usually what I will do in a strongman show. But we do axles, you know, thick bar axles, but we'll use this one. So we're gonna go overhead with this?
Yeah.
So standing or seated?
Seated. And that's the thing too. You know, a lot of people think erroneously that you want to work your stabilizer muscles. You don't.
Right.
There's no such thing as a stabilizer muscle. A muscle can stabilize. It's a role a muscle can play, but there are no muscles in the body that merely stabilize. So like for instance, if I'm doing a barbell curl, my glutes are stabilizing. We don't do barbell curls to work our glutes, do we? No. So what you want to do is find a way to maintain center of gravity and brace yourself against something so you can focus on the targeted muscle group. Because if you're focused on balancing, you're taking away from creating tension in the muscle group you want to create tension in, and it's just going to take away from the stimulus. That's why doing anything overhead or standing is less effective and of course more dangerous. So when possible, you want to be seated in a way you can maintain your center of gravity. Because doing an exercise which also requires you to maintain your center of gravity is less effective. And it's more dangerous.
Muscle building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's taking away from what the goal is, which is target the muscle group and fatigue that muscle group.
Okay.
So set this guy up. You normally do them standing?
Yeah, always. You know, I have to sort of like consider how to work this in with my competition prep, you know? I try to do everything as similar to competition as possible, but I can see the benefit of this as a supplement and then going back and doing my strongman training as a separate workout.
Here's the thing. It's called the law of specificity, and it's called motor learning. If you want to hone in or improve a particular skill, you have to practice that exact skill.
Gotcha.
Not similar, exact. So trying to do things that are similar to a particular skill, that skill is not going to transfer. It's just like somebody practicing for hockey with a golf club. Pretty similar movement, right? But we know those don't transfer. It's called the law of specificity and skill transfer. Same thing, you'll notice people like in the winter will run on a treadmill all winter long and then go out on the road and notice they can't run as far. Because even the difference in surface is going to affect your ability to adapt. So trying to do movements similar to strongman movements, it's not going to improve your skill with the strongman movement.
Okay.
Yeah, that's you know, it's motor learning 101. Again, a lot of trainers, athletes miss this. Like you see NFL players running in sand or, you know, running with weighted vests, stuff like that, it's a waste of time, complete waste of time. Even things like agility drills, I know we did them in football, they don't transfer. You get good at that specific drill, but that's not going to transfer to a football move. It looks like a football move, but the skill is so specific, they don't even transfer. They're generally a waste of time.
Interesting, okay.
Would you be able to get on it? We got it.
Yeah, so what if I turned and faced that way?
Oh yeah, that'd be better, for sure.
Hey, wife.
There's actually a pretty well-known case that there was a soccer team. There was one particular soccer team who didn't have soccer shoes. They didn't have cleats. And as a gesture, one team donated them cleats. And the team that practiced without cleats played so bad because they had cleats on. That's how specific skill transfer is. And that is why doing movements that are similar to sport-specific movements, they have no effect. And they could actually result in negative transfer. For instance, driveway basketball hoops. If you practice on a driveway basketball hoop and then go into a court with a regulation-sized court, hoop, rim, etc., you're actually going to be worse. It's going to be a negative transfer.
I can see that, yeah.
Because the surface is different, the backboard's different, the rim's a little different. You want to practice as close or identical to the skill if you can.
Okay. All right.
All right, so let's practice the format. I don't really use this machine, so let's see. Go ahead and spin.
Here.
Yeah, I'm gonna put these suckers. That's it, perfect. This is a movement where people really tend to use momentum down here because the moment arm is so long and your leverage is so bad that your body looks for momentum just to get the weight up. That's why with this, you definitely want to always go a little bit lighter in the beginning.
Let's show the other bar.
A lot of bodybuilders incorporate an incline chest press. If you're doing an overhead press, there's really no need to do an incline chest press.
Oh, good.
Because that clavicular portion of your chest is being heavily worked in this movement here. It's basically an incline press as it is.
What do you do to get your shoulders to look like two giant balls?
Well, that's genetics.
Yeah.
So muscle belly length, muscle quality, that all plays a role in your development. So ever since I was like 14 years old, I had these big round shoulders, especially if you have wide shoulders, like structurally, your bone structure is wide shoulders, you're gonna be more likely to build big round shoulders. But unfortunately, it's not really up to us what our muscles look like. All we can do is stimulate them as hard as possible, and how they're gonna develop is kind of up to them. And I mean, a good example I like to use is like, if I asked you, you know, how do I get tan like a Nigerian? You'd be like, you have to be a Nigerian. You know, how dark our skin gets is not up to us because it's genetically predetermined. How big your muscles get, even how lean you get, is really a lot determined by genetics. And the problem is today we have social media. So big muscular ripped physiques are rare. They've always been rare. But Instagram, YouTube gives people a way to expose them more so than they were ever able to before. So now we have this illusion that these big muscular physiques are common. They're still not. It's just social media allows more exposure for them. So you see like all these guys and they're like, oh, how do I get shoulders like that? Well, you got to remember, they won the genetic lottery.
Right.
And that's what got them a big Instagram following. It's not like they were born a scrawny little twerp and then they blew up. That almost never happens. People gravitate towards things that their genetics give them advantage to. Just like tall people gravitate towards basketball, people who are lean and muscular gravitate towards bodybuilding and physique competitions. Right. And then that's what we go to for the for the fitness advice, unfortunately.
Yeah, good point.
There are a lot of concepts a lot of people have never really heard of. That one's called selection bias.
Yeah.
So we'll, how much weight do you normally do on this?
So 8 to 12 reps. I mean, going the pace that we are, I think maybe 135 is a good place. Kyle, you want to build it up for me? Thanks, buddy. How many, I guess it really doesn't matter, but I want to know, so when I'm doing it on my own, how many reps did I get with the row?
I wasn't really paying attention, but that was a little light.
Close to like, yeah, I think so. That's
that you could do an additional. So I mean, you could count reps, or you could use a timer and then time the amount of time under load. Because if you're never setting the weight down, your muscles under continuous load, hitting a timer and then keeping track of the time. I'm gonna look for about 60. I like 60 to 90 seconds, but anywhere between 60 and minute 20. Okay. But reps are easier for most people to count. So. But in my studios, I follow people around with a stopwatch. As soon as they start the positive phase of the movement, they hit the stopwatch. As soon as they reach the point where they can't move it in the positive phase, stop it, and I record it very meticulously. And that's how you know when to progressively overload. So in this case, if your target rep range is 8 to 12, when you exceed 12 repetitions, that's an indication to start progressively overloading. Now you want to add about 5 to 10% more resistance. But for smaller movements like a deltoid raise or an overhead press, the weight increase is going to be a lot lighter, maybe even like 2.5s on this.
Sure, yeah. And
then something like a squat is going to be a little bigger. So that's how you can also make sure you're getting progress, because you should be able to do more weight or more repetitions almost on a workout-to-workout basis in the beginning. Eventually it'll start to slow down, but if you're keeping track, then you can see what's working and what's not.
Okay, ready to do it.
All righty. Just get in position, and just like the other movement, you want to start very slowly. Control it down, focusing on maintaining tension on the deltoids. Ease out of the bottom, engaging the shoulders. To there, and back down. Focus on the breathing on the way down, too. Perfect. Continue to push. Now you're going to reach sticking points in parts of the range of motion where you feel like you're getting stuck. Just maintain form, continue to contract. I'll make sure the resistance moves. Ready? And squeeze. Good. Good. I'm going to give you a little bit. We're going to try one more. Get that negative. I got you for support, so you're safe. Forward here. Good. Now drive it. Good. Continue to contract for 10 seconds. 10. Breathe. 9. Breathe. 8. Breathe. 7. 6. 5. 4. 3. 2. Boom.
Pull.
Ready? Stay there. Now you're gonna feel them die now. Nice and slow. Focus on that negative lowering phase. About there, forward. Gauge the shoulders and squeeze. Good. Down. Forward here. Remember, maintain that form. Good. One more. I got you for support. You're going to get stuck, but maintain form and continue to contract. Ready? Contract. Contract. 2. 1.
Man.
So that's what intensity looks like right there.
Yeah.
How'd that feel?
Good.
Yeah, you could even, I mean, if you wanted to go even crazier, you could strip those off and do it with just the bar. You notice you only get 5. Like if you want to. But again, with drop sets like that, you got to be careful, because each additional set is additional stress. And you'll quickly reach a point of diminishing returns when it comes to overtraining.
Right.
So you kind of want to be careful with that.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. And we're training.
We're gonna throw. Let's go throw in a deltoid raise with that too. Really, probably only need 20 for this. So we're gonna come up slow. You want to pause in this position. Come down. Don't even come down all the way. Only to about here is fine. Because again, if you come down here, there's effectively no moment arm on the working muscle, so it relaxes. So about here. Pause. Down. This might even be too heavy at 20 pounds after doing that, but we'll see. But you see how hard you push there?
Yeah.
And you can't get hurt because you are changing direction slowly. Now, if you were to contort your body and kind of extend your hips and try to get it up, that's when you start generating peak forces and you can get hurt. So you could have gotten the last rep with shitty form. But, again, the point isn't to move the weight. The point is to reach that point of failure and then safely set it down. Because getting that additional rep doesn't give you any additional benefit. It just gives you a little ego boost. But it's not the point of training, right?
Right. Okay. So I'm hitting these now.
Yep.
Starting here.
Just take your time coming up, and getting that pause at the top is huge. Pause, hold, and slowly come down. Right about there. Come up. You're focused on contracting the medial delt. The entirety of the delt is working. There's no need to do a front delt, rear delt exercise in addition to the movements we just did, because they're effectively work with everything. So see how he's maintaining that form. He's like a robot. That's how you want to look. Your body's going to try to swing you now. Don't let it. Good. Keep contracting. Keep contracting. Ready? Now just lower. Ready? Lower. 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 Pause it. Up again. Lower 5, 4, 3. Pause it. 5, 4, 3, 2. Good. Since you're a strong man, you're getting the negatives at the end.
Yeah, that's tough. So you're saying that this is almost unnecessary after doing that?
Mostly, but here's the thing. If you're training, so if I'm taking you through a workout, that's probably going to be unnecessary. Because I'm going to get much more out of it. People training on their own might benefit from a couple additional exercises because their ability to generate that intensity is not going to be as good as if you were supervised, especially in the beginning. But over time, you get so good at fatiguing your muscles that you'll notice you won't even be able to tolerate that.
Sure.
You'll notice over time. So people need to keep in mind that the goal of the workout is not to absolutely get every exercise you predetermined you were going to do in there. If you get to the point you're completely shot, you're done. What you needed to do is over. Adding in those additional exercises are not going to give you additional benefit. It's just going to create additional systemic fatigue that your body is going to have a hard time recovering from. So when it comes to exercise, you want the minimum effective dose for the desired result. It's just like taking medicine, right? The doctor doesn't prescribe you the most to get rid of your symptoms. He prescribes you the least amount that will get rid of it, because the more you take, there's going to be adverse side effects. Same with training. If you do too many exercises, you're actually going to head in the other direction. You're overtraining. You may not be able to recover from it.
Yeah, I get it.
So now we're going to do a chin-up.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Isn't that right here?
Sure, you're there, we do over here.
The muscles that
I don't normally feel this way. And you know, you've watched me train for the past 3 months. Yeah. I just pick the heaviest weight I can, and I use a lot of force, a lot of momentum, a lot of force to just drive that thing up. This is about performance in that case. But with the building of the muscle, I'm never really taking my time to drive that intensity into the tissue. Yeah. Like we're doing right now.
You can technically build strength and muscle without moving at all. You could push against something that doesn't move. Yeah. You'd still stimulate the muscle enough to get it to respond.
So like isometric? Yeah,
the isometric stuff. It's good to work in with this kind of stuff, but there are 2 types of responders. There's specific responders and general responders. Some people will only get strong in the range of motion to train. It's kind of a small percentage of people. Most people, even if they were to do an isometric training system, they would get stronger throughout the whole range, but there are some people who are specific responders. That's why we use range of motion. The main reason we use range of motion is because throughout the range of motion, say for the biceps, there's a different amount of actin and myosin overlap. So the actin and myosin filaments within your muscle fiber overlap very little in this position. That's why you're not very strong there, because the more contact they make between one another, the more force they can produce. Somewhere around 90 degrees, you have what's called optimal actin-myosin overlap. The most surface area contact, the more force it can produce, and then when you come up again, you get a little less contact again. The reason we do range of motion is because we're trying to hit and stimulate that part of the range of motion.
Just that one part.
Where we get optimal actin-myosin overlap, because that's where we're going to get the most mechanical damage. The filaments interact with each other, wear and tear, and create the stimulus. So that's why we do range of motion, just because we don't know where that exact area is. Technically, if we had some kind of technological advancement that could show us, we could just contract in that position and build everything fine. But that's why we do range of motion, because we don't know where that exact optimal overlap part is.
That really makes me start to think about the effectiveness of some of the things I was doing, not realizing why. Like I said, forearms would just get blown up because of the farmer carries, but cake carries. I do cake carries. There's no range of motion. You pick it up here and you hold it here as long as you can while you walk as far as you can. My traps, upper back, biceps just blow up when I integrate those into my routine. So it seems like it's that overlap of the actin and myosin that's available in that range.
You're hitting the strongest part of the range of the muscle fiber. That's where, again, you're getting the most of that the microscopic actin-myosin overlap. You're creating more damage there. Also, the reason you're getting a better stimulus there is because you're leaving the muscle under load. So you're getting continuous inroad. So a lot of the times when people lift and lower, they fatigue a little, recover a little, fatigue a little, recover a little.
Yeah.
Because they're using momentum. What we're doing is this, constant fatigue. So eventually over time, they might kind of reach a stimulus threshold, but what we're doing is we're just going right to the stimulus threshold without giving the muscle small breaks in between. It's just inefficient. Like, you could get there doing this, but it's going to take you 4, 5, 6 sets. Why not just, the example I like to use is like, say I wanted to walk to the truck. What most people are doing is this, taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back, waiting, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Why not just walk?
Yeah.
1 straight path. That's what we're doing with
Just get there.
with this training. Yeah, there's no point in taking those little rests in between. Again, a lot of people do it because they're able to lift more weight.
Sure.
It's the wrong objective.
Okay.
Let's, oh, we're doing chin-ups, right?
Yep.
All right, you ready? This is going to be real tough.
I bet.
And this is good too because you can do this style of training with body weight movements. It's actually very effective.
Okay. So I can cheat with the band?
Yeah.
All right.
Especially, you know, if you're a heavier guy, you're going to probably want a little assistance.
Wide grip, neutral grip. What do you think?
I would use these. You want
which these?
The supinated right
these.
in the middle? Yep. So with any kind of pulling movement, if you can go a little more supinated, it's better. Because see what happens when I supinate my palm? My biceps contracts. You get more contractile force out of your biceps in a supinated position. A lot of the times, especially with like overhand pull downs or rows, you have your biceps in what's called passive insufficiency. It's fully lengthened. So now your brachialis has to work harder, and your biceps work a little less hard. You'll notice you'll fail a little sooner with a pronated grip.
Yeah.
Simply turning your wrists in and getting the biceps more involved is going to allow you to get more contractile force and work your back even harder.
Okay. All right.
Again, it's like most of what people do in the gym is in many cases wrong, and in a lot of cases it's literally backwards.
Nice.
So take about 5 seconds up, pause, and really slowly control it down. Perfect.
Not to full extension.
Just short of full extension. Perfect. You're going to really feel those lats. Feel those lats under tension on the way down. Especially with this cadence, you're going to feel like your lats are about to rip off your back. This is also an extremely good biceps exercise because the biceps flex the elbow, flex the shoulder, and supinate the palm, and this is doing all of those functions in one movement. We're just going to start getting really intense now, so really focus on the form. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Pause, come down easy. I'm going to give you a little bit of assistance on the positive phase, just for two or three. But again, squeeze. Pause, come down slow. You got 2 more. Stay focused. Forward here, go. Good, slow down. No momentum on this one. I'm going to give you some assistance. Ready? Easy in. Hold it 5 seconds. Hold it 5, 4, 3, and slowly down.
Oh! Damn!
That's killer, right?
Yeah, you make me work, dude.
Another thing with a training partner too, like with body weight movements, they can give you some force reps too. So it's definitely cool to...
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have done those last 2 reps without your help.
Yeah, you look about 10 pounds bigger than when I got here.
Yeah. Feeling pretty swole.
We'll do, let's do a biceps. Do you have a curl bar?
For cables or for plates?
No. Actually, cables would be pretty good. Let me see.
Okay.
How smooth it is. Probably want to film it here, right?
Yeah, sure.
I like to grab the outside of the handle here. You want everything to be relatively close to shoulder width.
Okay.
And again, a slight lean forward actually makes this a little harder. So I like to lean forward a little bit. You're taking your time coming up. Holding the squeeze. And then really working that negative on the way down. Change direction slow, just short of full extension. It's going to look just like that. We'll do one more for the sake of demonstration. That's going to be it. The cables are cool because they provide that tension continuously throughout.
Sure, yep.
After those 2 pulling movements, you're going to notice you're not going to have much juice left in those biceps. In many cases, you don't even need to do biceps. Right there. You're going to feel like your biceps are almost cramping at the top. It's normal, completely normal. It's just because of that excessive actin and myosin overlap. The muscles contracted so much they kind of get in each other's way and create a cramping sensation. But they're going to get tough now. Maintain that form. And if you train like this, you'll never get a torn biceps. Easy in. Just focus on squeezing the muscle tissue. Perfect. Couple more. Towards the end, your body's going to want to swing and heave. Keep your torso just like this, head like that. Don't change a thing. Like a statue. Ease in again. The next 2 are going to be really tough. Keep this form, slow changes in direction. Remember, the goal is not to get the weight up. The goal is to use the weight to fatigue the muscle. Perfect. And you're going to get stuck somewhere in the middle at some point. Try this next one. Remember, change direction slowly, lean forward a little bit. There, right there. Ease in. Up we go. Good. This next one, change direction really slow. Just ease into it. Try not to swing it. weight position. Hold it. There. Don't move. 5, 4. Gradually up. 3, 2. Very slowly to the bottom.
Damn!
We're gonna drop set. Ready?
All right.
Couple breaths. And start really slow. Hold for there for 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Come back down. We're gonna do a little more of a pause at the top. Back up easy. We're only doing 3 reps. Here we go. Ready? Up, up, up. One more. Stay as focused as you can. Hard as you can. Easy. There we go. Squeeze. Hold it there. 5. Hold it there. 4. Keep breathing. 3, 2. Slowly to the bottom. Perfect. Now let's do that pump.
Oh boy. Yeah. All right. Yeah, man. Solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. Making me work.
We only got legs left. A lot of times you want to put legs at the beginning, but
So, what about doing like unilateral for legs, like lunges or something of that nature?
They can work, but here's the thing. If you do unilateral movements too much, you're going to develop an imbalance because you're unevenly loading the pelvis, you're unevenly loading the hips, and also a lot of the times you're contorting the spine a little bit. So unilateral leg movements, in my book, big no-no.
Really?
Lunges are okay, but something like a one-legged squat, a one-leg leg press, you see idiots do that in the gym all the time. Without even knowing it, their lumbar spine is contorted, their hips are rotated anteriorly. All those things over time, they're going to result in hip, back problems, and probably anterior pelvic tilt. The list goes on.
Okay.
You always, when possible, want to stick with bilateral movements.
Okay.
Both limbs at the same time, just so you're loading your spine and your hips evenly. I know they look cool in the gym,
Sure.
but it's silly and it's just a recipe for disaster, really. Plus, it's like, you know, doing one limb at a time. It's like washing the left side of your car, drying it, and then washing the right side of your car. Why don't you just do the whole thing at once? So, no point.
Okay.
It just makes it less efficient, but you know, people have come up with all sorts of little things to do just for.
What about already having an imbalance between the two because of an injury?
Training bilaterally
Yeah.
and loading each side of the body evenly will correct that imbalance over time.
Okay.
Almost always.
All right.
So with my 2 training studios, almost everybody comes in with an imbalance of some sort,
Sure.
and it goes away in a matter of just a few months.
Okay.
Strength and balance.
Give me a
growth
second. I
balance.
gotta recover. I can barely move my arms. Trying to pick up this water bottle and it's like impossible. Yeah, I can't even bring it to my head.
I've never seen you look that big. You look at least 15 pounds.
Well, it's also because of what I've been doing with my meals.
Sure.
I'm more insulin sensitive now, so my body's sucking up all the sugar that I ate yesterday. But Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I fasted. So I think the uptake is a bit more powerful.
Nice. You're gonna want that glycogen.
What's up?
You're gonna want all that glycogen.
Yeah.
Something like this.
Yeah.
Recover real quick.
Yeah, I carved up last night, ate a bunch of mangoes and white rice, so because I fasted for 3 days, depleted myself, and then carved up for today.
You're down a little bit of weight now.
Yeah, I've been steadily going down little by little. At my peak in July, I was like 240, like 228 right now.
Did you just increase your calorie intake before the competition?
I just never stopped eating. I was just eating. You know, the vertical diet, Stan Efferding. He's got this recipe called MASH, and it's bison, ground bison, white rice, spinach, bone broth. I think that's it. it's all mixed up. And when you eat in a bowl, I would just eat like three or four big bowls of that a day.
Really?
I got huge real quick, but then I was getting too big. I didn't want to be that big.
Nice to try that.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It goes at Monster Mash. So I basically live on Monster Mashes.
You're probably getting like 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day then, right?
Well, no, not that much. 2 or 3 of them, you know, plus like maybe a steak meal. Like 3,000. Yeah, that's why I like it. I feel great eating that stuff.
That's another thing too. I mean, you want to build muscle, you got to get adequate protein intake. Like if you're not eating adequate protein, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah. All right. So
This one's gonna cook it. So make
squats.
sure we're ready.
Yeah, I'll take my time.
It's not gonna be fun.
Okay.
And that's the thing. Exercise should not be fun. If exercise is fun, you're probably not training hard. Boot camps, not exercise. Yoga, not exercise. Pilates, definitely not exercise. These are recreation activities that might have a slight exercise effect, because if you take an unconditioned person who hasn't moved in several years and they move around more, yeah, the body's going to adapt a little bit. These are not exercise.
I like your conviction. I like that attitude.
Hey,
I don't necessarily agree, but I like that you're 100% about that. Yeah, that's how a man talks.
yeah, I'm very strict.
Cut or dry,
Definition
right?
of it. Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Everybody disagrees with me, but hey, I'm open to debate anytime.
Yeah, it's good to be disagreeable. But I can see why, because obviously you got the results. You got the results to prove what you're saying, so you say whatever you want.
I mean, I've got my own anecdotal evidence, but I've also 15,000 training sessions.
Yeah, there's no question.
There's a lot of evidence there.
And do you have a studio here in Florida? Are you planning on doing that?
I might do it at some point. Just kind of focused on teaching the principles now, rather than, instructing each individual. But at some point I will.
Okay, cool. Where are your 2 studios?
New York, Albany area.
Albany area. I remember a guy opening up a gym 20 years ago in Long Island, and he did exactly this. It was all Nautilus machines, and he taught super slow training to failure. What is it?
Adam Zickerman?
Maybe. He was in Long Island. It was in Rockville Center a long time ago. But his studio was doing great. It was kind of like back then. Even still today, it's kind of revolutionary. Mm-hmm. Even though, like you say, it's not new. But I think, at least the way I'm feeling about it right now, it's not something that people want to do. It's not fun.
This is for people who don't want to waste hours a week in the gym. They don't use the gym as their social outlet. This is for people who have injuries, people who just want to get to the point and move on with their life. Like personally, that's how I view exercise. I view it as like brushing your teeth. It's something you should do for your health, but nobody tries to make brushing their teeth fun. So I don't see the purpose of making exercise fun. Just do it, get it over with, and move on. There's a lot of wasted time with exercise that people could be using to improve other parts of their life. I think it's a huge...
So your workouts last half an hour?
About half an hour. I train, do a leg session, and then I wait, which lasts about 15 minutes. Then I wait 2 or 3 days, I do an upper body. That's it.
So it's 2 workouts a week, half an hour each.
Yep.
Push and pull in the same workout. About how many exercises each workout are you doing?
So for the legs, I do a squat or a leg press, hamstring curl, leg extension or knee extension, and a calf raise. That's it.
Okay.
It's 4. You hit everything. And for the upper body, horizontal chest press, horizontal row, overhead press or like a deltoid fly, pull down, biceps, triceps. That's it. You hit everything. Yeah, there seems to be, all the muscles are connected. Like you don't need an exercise for each specific muscle group. They all work together. So if you're doing basic compound multi-joint movements, you're going to stimulate all of them pretty much maximally. I mean, if you're a professional bodybuilder, there may be things you need to focus on and bring up a little bit. But for the average gym goer, there's no need to do a front delt, a rear delt, your soleus, your gastrocnemius, like all these different movements for different parts of the muscle. Most people, they're not even going to see the benefit of that because they're so average with such average genetics anyway. So a lot of people think that if they put all these fancy exercises in the workout, that's going to really propel their physique into like an impressive level, when it's not. Just keeping it basic is going to.
Okay. Strongman is more deadlift focused. Like we're usually lifting things off the ground. Very rarely is there something on us, and except for yoke. Yoke is probably the only thing where you're loading your back and doing something similar to a squat. But mostly it's lifting stones off the ground, lifting log off the ground, lifting sandbags off the ground. It's more deadlift oriented.
Did you tear your biceps doing strongman type work, or?
No, I was always doing something different.
Really?
But shortly after strongman's session.
Oh, because you were worn out at that point.
Yeah, so I pulled my first bicep after a day of doing Conan's wheel. Conan's wheel is where you have a bar in the crux of your bicep and you're walking around in a circle as far as you can. So it's a lot of pulling the bicep.
Yeah.
And then that evening I went to my parents' house. I was helping my dad pull some dead trees that the frost killed out of the ground. Tore this one. This one I tore doing fucking gymnastics. I was like, I had rings and I was just doing cats, skin the cats.
Yep.
I went over one time and didn't come back.
Force.
Just tore it off.
That's yeah, it's that changing direction quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that, you know, when you're training, you're also, there's wear and tear on these, you know, there's microtrauma in the connective tissue. And if you don't let that recover, just like your muscles, eventually it fails.
Yeah. Good experience. All right.
There's a lot of NFL athletes too. I mean, they just like
A lot of NFL athletes.
yeah, they're doing all those Olympic movements
Yeah.
in the off season. They're beating up their joints and connective tissues, so they go into their first game under recovered as it is, damaged, and then they make one cut, pop. You know, I think NFL players, like professional athletes, should be training very low force on the off season.
Slow.
So much, because they have to endure so much force during the season. They can't afford to be wearing this out in the off season. I think that's why they all get injured. Like, you know, Saquon Barkley, right?
No,
He was he's the running back for the Giants, like super great running back. He was a star in college. He was known for being able to like clean and press 405, like all these Olympic lifts, super strong. The second year, I think it was like the second or third game, tore his ACL. Because I know as a fact he was doing those Olympic lifts on the off season to prepare. Gets into the season, boom, injured.
And why is that? I would just imagine that preparing your body to handle that kind of force would transfer and create less injury. Obviously, that's not the case, but why?
A stronger muscle results in a stronger connective tissue. The stronger the connective tissue, the more force it can handle. You don't need to train your body with high force to teach it how to handle high force. Either the amount of force your body can withstand is based on its strength. Mostly it's muscular strength. So training specifically, high force training, not only does it not prepare you better for high force activities, it's going to wear the connective tissues out and increase your likelihood of injury for those high force activities. So there's
So, not that you're an Olympic weightlifting coach, but with what you are saying, if you were to train an Olympic weightlifter, came to me and was like, hey, look, we do high force movements. It's our sport. I got to get good at it. How would you go about training that person?
So on the off season, I would stick to low force for several months. Low force, high intensity movements. Kind of let those connective tissues recover over time. And then slowly start incorporating those skill-based movements up to the competition. Because you want to build the strength with proper training, low force training, and then apply that strength with skill practice. So say they had a year to prepare. 4 or 5 months, just strength training. Then up until that point, then start with lightweight, start practicing the skill. And then kind of wean this out. Because this, on top of that, would be too much for the body.
It'd be too much. So to do a hybrid approach would make sense.
No, not really.
Right. But I guess you're doing sort of a hybrid approach as you're transitioning into...
Yeah, right. So you'd want to, because, up until the competition, the preparation should be getting as good as you can at the skill. You don't want to, you're not going to get much stronger 2 months before your competition. You want to focus on injury resistance and getting good at the skill. You want all your strength improvements to happen way, way before the competition, because once you start performing these skills, there is wear and tear on the body. There's no way around it. And that's the decision the Olympic lifter makes when getting into Olympic lifting. It is high risk, there's wear and tear. Your job should be to minimize it as much as possible. There's no reason to train your body for strength with wear and tear. It's not going to have any superior benefit than just doing low force movements. So yeah, that's what I would do. In the off season, I would just make them strong, make them injury resistant by removing all those, high force movements, and then slowly start to practice the skill with higher weight gradually over time.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because, think about it, an Olympic lifter, they get done with the competition, take a couple weeks off, and then they start doing all that heavy stuff again. That connective tissue is not healed in a way. And it's under the erroneous belief that you need these high force movements to build strength and muscle. No, you don't.
So while doing the high intensity training this way, you were saying that the damage to the joints and to the tendons, they can heal while doing this?
They can heal because, think about it, like biologically, it wouldn't make much sense to make a muscle stronger without making the tissue it attaches to the bone with stronger. Not only will your muscle get stronger, the connective tissue will get stronger and the bones will get stronger. This is due to the myokines released by the muscle when you deeply fatigue them. So bone mineral density improves and connective tissue improves when your muscle gets stronger. Doing this kind of training with low force isn't going to negatively affect the connective tissue because you're not using force. So if you're not using force, they're going to be continuously healing over time while stimulating the muscle. So the only thing that's going to interfere with that healing is generating force through it, not necessarily loading the muscle. Because if you're going slowly, they're still healing as you're training like this if you're doing it slowly. And they're building stronger.
And they're getting stronger. The connective tissue is getting stronger as a result.
If you load the muscle, the connective tissue, just because the myokine signaling crosstalk between them, tells this to upregulate and get stronger, and that also tells the bone to upregulate and get stronger.
It makes sense. I remember, have you ever heard of dinosaur training?
No.
Brooks Kubrick. It's strongman, odd object, meathead type training. And he's got a whole section on developing the tendons. And it's basically isometrics. It's like, take the heaviest weight you can, put a pin, and just go slow and hold it and down, and like doing basically this.
Because there's no force. Because with isometrics, you can't generate force because, well, you can, but you won't generate force as easily because there's nothing to move. There's nothing to change direction. So he came up with a good protocol for the tendons without even realizing you get the same exact effect, just controlling the weight moving slowly.
Going slow.
Yeah, and then you can also stimulate the muscle.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it all comes down to loading the muscle.
All right. I'm ready whenever you are.
All right. Go ahead and grab that bar. Just kind of do a squat and see how low you get. So see if these are set up right. Is that how low you normally go with this?
No, but I'm stretching right now. I gotta do a few reps of squats. Feel good.
Yeah, I highly recommend you do some warm-ups with squats too, because it's kind of a complicated movement pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of want to, it's like taking practice swings always.
You use a leg press?
I do. I kind of prefer the squat though. And again, people kind of gravitate towards exercises they're good at. I can squat a ton of weight, so that's why I like doing them.
How's that look?
Tip these up a little bit.
How many dots is going
Just one. So I'm thinking, the thing is, we need to, is it going to be tough to stay within here? Let's see, just in case. Because ideally, you'll reach failure in kind of the squatted position and then just come and set it down. Is that your usual squat range? Or is that a little deeper?
I usually go pretty deep. Usually on that. I think that works.
Okay. Because when we reach failure, you might come down and you might get stuck here. And then the way you terminate the set, you're going to come down, you're going to, and then you're just going to want to set it down and then scoot out that way. So that's the thing about, this is kind of why you want like a decent power rack, because you're generally going to reach failure somewhere in the mid-range of motion. You don't, I mean, we could just get close to failure. We'll just see how it goes. With this lightweight, can see how it goes. Yep. Right to about there and come right back down. Even almost a brief pause at the bottom. Ease out, obviously pushing with your heels. Just go like one more just so we don't get you too fatigued before the working set.
Should I go to the bottom or top?
Top. I'm going to move these up. And always focus on breathing with this too. A lot of people have a tendency to hold their breath. If you hold your breath, you're probably going to get pretty dizzy. So just continue to breathe at all times. Shoot a 5-second negative. 4, 3, 2. Ease out of the bottom. Engage the muscle. Move back down. 4, 3, 2. It's really good. Tough now, remember to breathe here. Always breathe. Try to keep your face and upper body relaxed. Let that down. Breathe. Feel those muscles loading on the way down. Everything in position. Perfect. Good. Come right back down. It's going to get real tough. Your cardiovascular system is going to be running. So this is excellent cardio. Good. A couple more. Good. We got another. Try to come right back down to this one.
Ah!
There you go. This is what's going to push you here. Squat is super high intensity. You got a lot of muscle working. Good. Couple more. That's good. 1 or 2. Focus and breathe. Focus and breathe. These are the most effective reps of this exercise. The last 2 really, really hard ones. Squeeze. Good. 1 more. There. We've got another one. Really slow. Ready? And 5, 4, 3. Pause. Push. That's it. See, with this one in the beginning, you probably don't even want to go to failure. You're going to get a lot out of getting really close to failure.
Say that again?
You're going to get a lot out of getting close to failure on this one.
Right.
With the squats, beginners probably, and if you're just starting this, you probably don't even want to go to failure.
Okay.
Because what you just did, that's going to stimulate enough.
Wow.
So that would literally, that would be like a full body workout.
Yeah.
And,
to say the least. Yeah, my whole body.
The only thing we didn't add was like the triceps, but at this point, you probably got nothing left.
Big difference.
Yeah, especially with squats, because a lot of people, they use so much momentum
Oh, yeah.
that they're really not doing that much work. Notice when you slow it down, what it does to your cardiovascular system.
Right.
You
Got the wind.
So much muscle, demand on so much muscle, your cardiovascular system is working so hard. That's why, I mean, if you want good cardio effect, or squats or leg press, that's going to give you all the cardio you need.
By slowing it down.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to cardio, your body doesn't know the difference what you're doing. All it knows is fatiguing muscle. If you fatigue muscle enough, your cardiovascular system's going to improve. Like, you wouldn't need to do any kind of jogging or steady state stuff with this. It wouldn't have any additional improvement.
And so you don't do any cardio? Traditional cardio, meaning this is cardio.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, traditional cardio, again, it's that skill component. So
Right.
someone starts jogging, they notice over time jogging gets easier. They think that their cardio improved. While it has to a certain degree, most of what improved is their ability to jog. Their skill for jogging, which means they're using less energy with jogging now. And they call that getting in shape. Really, that's mostly a skill adaptation. If you want to improve your cardiovascular system, you have to go through the muscle. And the harder you work the muscle, the more you improve your cardiovascular system. Stroke volume, coronary blood flow, all that stuff comes through pushing the muscle hard. In steady state, it's not intense enough. Plus it'll wear
High
your joints
reps,
out.
100 rep sets or sets of 25, 30 reps. I assume it's the same thing. Like, it's just not intense enough.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to failure, you can make it intense enough, but I mean, why take 30 reps to get to failure when you can do it in 12? You could, theoretically, but especially if joint preservation is a concern of yours, which it should be for everybody, because there is a limit to how many times these things open and close. You want to get the most muscular stimulation with the least amount of opening and closing of the joint if possible. Running is the literal polar opposite of that. Tiny amount of muscle stimulation, thousands upon thousands of openings and closings of that joint. Plus the wear and tear from pounding on the ground. It's like, I compare cardio, like jogging, to like mopping a floor with a toothbrush. Like, sure, it might get the job done, and this is like using a floor buffer. Like, it gets it done more effectively, more efficiently, and it usually does a better job. Cardio is just a really inefficient, ineffective, and usually dangerous way of getting like a teeny bit of muscle stimulation.
Yeah.
Unless if your goal is to be a jogger, you have to jog, obviously.
Sure.
But there's no reason to be doing steady state activity unless something in your life requires you to jog, in addition to resistance training. Your body doesn't know the difference. If you're making your muscles tired, you're making your muscles tired. You throw a sack of potatoes at the wall, it doesn't make a difference.
Right. Just making yourself tired
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're building muscle or...
There's a false dichotomy between cardio and resistance training.
Right.
It's false. There is no dichotomy. It's the same thing.
So, if I were to split this up, right, if I were to integrate this into my routine, I just wanted to do 2 days a week, I could choose a day to do push-pull and a day to do legs.
Yeah.
And that would be all.
That's all you would need. Or if you can tolerate doing it all in one sitting, that's fine too. Eventually you get to the point, so when you practice, like training enough, your ability to fatigue your muscle is going to improve. So the first time you did a squat with this method versus the 100th time you've done a squat, you are going to inroad and fatigue your muscles far deeper the more you practice with this. Therefore, you're going to need to cut the volume back, because maybe we dug a little hole with this workout. As time goes on, we're going to dig a trench. So you may need to pull back the volume. So a lot of people are good with full body workouts, but at a certain point you may need to split them up because you can't tolerate training the entire body. That's why I do what I do. I do the split because I can't incorporate the legs with the upper body and not die.
Right.
So that's when you do a split.
It would be hard to produce the kind of intensity that you need.
Right. You need, so the focus needs, you want to accommodate intensity. A lot of people reduce intensity to accommodate volume.
Yeah.
That is the absolute opposite you want to do. You want to reduce volume to accommodate intensity. Since intensity is the driving force in stimulating your muscle, that's what you want to focus on. Sometimes pulling exercises out of your workout is going to result in better adaptations. The exact opposite of what bodybuilders would think.
And so, just so I'm trying to understand the principles here, about how long in between is required to fully recover a muscle. So let's say, for example, on Thursday I wanted to do horizontal push and pull, and then on Saturday I wanted to do vertical push and pull. Is that too close?
No, that'd probably be good. So the ability to adapt and recover from workout varies between individuals. Everybody's different. Some people will recover in 24 hours. These people usually end up becoming bodybuilders.
Sure.
Most people, about 48, 72 hours.
Okay.
So if you train on a Monday, you probably don't want to do it again until a Wednesday. But that's when kind of listening to your body and tracking your workouts is going to indicate what works for you. You know, if you go into a gym and if you go to work out and you are lethargic, you have no strength, no energy, no aggression, you're probably overtrained. You should probably skip that day. So a lot of people are so focused on getting as many workouts as they can in a week, but if you're not putting sufficient effort into the workout, it's almost a waste of your time. So if you go into the gym and you're not feeling it that day, you don't have the energy, go home and recover. Pushing yourself through a shitty workout is not going to get you results. It's just going to hinder recovery.
How about macro cycles and building deloads into the routine? Is that something necessary, or you can just keep going?
See, that was developed by people who didn't really understand how to stimulate the muscle. So they found that deloading, the problem was they weren't allowing enough recovery time in between the workouts. So then they found that deloading had an effect. Well, if you're allowing enough recovery time between the workouts to begin with, there's no need to deload anything. You should have your recovery time planned out. But again, these are individuals who are trying to accommodate volume. They're trying to fit a certain amount of sets and exercises within a week. And then they notice they can't really tolerate that, and then they deload, when in reality they should have just been adjusting that volume. Because they think that you need a certain amount of sets or a certain amount of reps to stimulate growth, when it's completely arbitrary.
Right. Yeah, I totally have that mindset, that if I didn't hit a certain amount of volume, then I failed. And that's not true.
No, it's not. Because volume, again, is time under load. And the goal is to stimulate your body. It's not to see how many reps, how many sets you can mindlessly endure. That's what most people do in the gym. Go for an hour, try to endure as many exercises as possible and leave. Now the goal is to address each targeted muscle area, aggressively fatigue it, and go home and recover. Because the adaptation's taking place when you're sleeping. It's not taking place in the gym. This is a negative thing. This is a stress on the body. This stress tells the body to produce an adaptation, improvements in muscular strength, muscular size, and all the general trainable factors of functional ability, which is going to be connective tissue strength, bone strength, cardiovascular efficiency, and metabolic efficiency. Notice I didn't say agility. Notice I didn't say explosiveness. Notice I didn't say flexibility. Those are specific factors of functional ability. Resistance training improves general factors of functional ability. So this is the stress. It tells the body to improve those. If you don't rest or get adequate nutrition, you haven't given your body the ability to make that adaptation. So going to the gym day after day after day after day is hindering the process. It's like, a good analogy is like getting a sunburn and then the next day going into a tanning booth and expecting to get a better suntan. You didn't let the sunburn recover yet. You need to let that adaptation recover and then stimulate again. Less is usually more.
Whoa, what else you got?
Triceps?
Sure.
Let's
do it. You're here.
Just finish with a tricep, because again, I mean, we could do exercise after exercise after exercise, but there's a point where it gets too much.
Right. And I very rarely do triceps because most of my pressing hits it.
Here's the thing, it's gonna, but people love these exercises, so I like to demonstrate it. You know, people are gonna do them. These are good for bringing up a lagging muscle group, but a lot of people think that means adding volume to the muscle group. So say you had lagging triceps. A good approach would be to do a workout that only focuses on the triceps, not add more exercises at the end of your already pretty lengthy workout. The best approach would be reduce the training of the other muscle groups and inroad the lagging muscle group. So all of your recovery resources go to that lagging muscle group rather than the other ones. That's the best way to bring up a lagging body part. Meanwhile, in the bodybuilding industry, it's like add 20 exercises. No, that's too much.
More inroads. I like that. That's a new term for me. I hear you saying that. Inroads. So I imagine when I hear you saying that, it's like building more neural pathways.
It's like a good way to explain inroad is just fatigue. You know, think you have a starting level of strength, right? Inroad is the weakening or reduction of that starting level of strength. So the purpose of the workout is to take your starting level of strength, weaken or reduce your body's level of strength to stimulate the adaptation. That's all inroad is. It's reduction of momentary ability.
Okay.
Your momentary strength.
Okay.
Or fatigue. I mean, fatigue is easier.
Let's inroad it, bro.
So triceps, you probably don't need an additional tricep exercises, but you know, people like to do them. But this is my favorite one, just the easy bar. Again, you always want to have your elbows tucked by the sides. The only thing that should be moving are your forearms. Elbow extension only. You don't want to do this. A lot of people do this.
Yeah.
No, we're targeting the triceps. The function of the triceps is elbow extension and a little bit of shoulder extension. But so it's just like this. Avoid full extension, but pause, control up. And here's a huge key to this exercise. You want to change direction slowly at 90 degrees like this to engage the triceps. A lot of people come up and they fling it down. So by flinging it down, they're literally skipping the hardest portion of the exercise. So changing direction slowly here, even in my own training, I've noticed a huge difference in working the triceps. So you want to come up here, almost come to a brief pause, and just slowly engage them. Like this, and then work that negative. And again, the rest of your body should be absolutely fixed. There should be no other movement. None of this swinging bullshit. Let's try 50. You can almost guarantee, so here's the thing, your whole body's probably going to shake when you do this because everything's fatigued. That's normal. It's just going to look a little funny.
Okay. You go here?
Yeah.
Here?
It's, you know, it's really preference. It really doesn't matter.
Okay.
Brief pause there, and then take your time coming up and just feel the triceps loaded on the way up. and slowly change direction through there and engage and squeeze. Boom. Perfect. So just like I said earlier, your body's probably going to start to shake, and this is because we have fatigued every body in your muscle. So your momentary ability is so reduced that your body almost doesn't have enough strength to even keep itself in position. This is normal. If you're shaking on a triceps movement at the end of your exercise, it's normal. Was that weight feeling challenging or a little light?
It's getting there.
Gets there eventually. Contract, contract real hard. But remember to maintain that perfect form. Maintain that continuous load. Just think about loading the triceps. Slow change of direction here and contract. Good. Contract a little harder now. Drive, drive, drive. Good. Take your time coming up. You're almost there. They're going to feel like they're almost cramping. That's normal too. Good. Squeeze there. Almost. A few more in the tank. Real. A little harder now. Boom. Up nice and slow. Nice and slow. Good. Change direction here. Come down. Squeeze. 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 Good. Back up. Keep everything straight. Under control. Keep breathing. Change direction here and squeeze. We're going to end this one with a little static. We're going to go one more here. Remember, slow change in direction. Good. Now continue to gradually contract down for 10 seconds. 10. Keep breathing. 9, 8, 7. A little harder. 6. There you go. 5. Now drive it. 4. Drive it. 3. Drive it. 2. And relax. So what I did there is called manual resistance.
Yep.
So I put you in a position where your triceps are the strongest, that optimum actin-myosin overlap, and then I add resistance to get them to contract even harder. That will inroad more quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I felt it.
So that would be like a whole workout right there. That's all you need.
Yeah. So if I were to do this without a partner and I got to that midpoint with the exercise, could I just hold it there and squeeze and imagine that I'm getting extra pressure?
So you could, this is what I like to do on this exercise, is get to the point where you're reaching failure, you're going to fail somewhere in the middle, and then just contract statically for like 15 to 20 seconds. And you'll feel your triceps start to give out. Yeah. At first, you try to hold it. Then you'll notice they'll start to fail, and then you start to create force downward, start to push against it. And eventually you get to the point where you're pushing against it as hard as you can, and it's beating you. And that's how you know you cooked. So that's a little method you could use on your own, but with a training partner you can do all kinds of other stuff.
So I'm pumped. Jay, I gotta say, I haven't felt this way in a very long time. I think the last time I felt this way was probably when I was doing drop sets, you know, just hitting those in-road type exercises, but never like this before. I want to thank you for coming out, bro. Thanks for hitting me up and, you know, meeting up with me here and doing this workout. So you got a YouTube channel. Yep. You also have various other ways that people can learn from you. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is J Vincent. My Instagram handle is _J_Vincent. So I put a lot of content on there, just covering exercise science. Just started a supplement company too. Just producing supplements in gummy form that most men should be taking. You know, the supplement industry is kind of off the rails now with all the nonsense and BS, but there are some things that men should be taking for optimal health. So jvincentfitness.com.
What are some of those things?
So I have a supplement coming out for sleep, because here's the thing. If you want to get optimal results from training, you have to sleep good. So I have a gummy supplement for sleep, which has things like melatonin in it, things that help you relax. I have one for anxiety, keep you calm. There are some natural herbal supplements that will help reduce anxiety, because these things are important when it comes to recovery. You know, other companies will create these chemicals that speed up your recovery. That's nonsense. There's nothing that can speed up your recovery. You just need to rest and sleep well and eat well.
So these are like aids.
They're aids, really. And a men's vitality one coming out. Creatine, B vitamins, amino acids, vasodilators, all that stuff that are great for men that they should be taking on a daily basis anyway, that they're probably not getting through their diet. So my supplement line isn't like bodybuilding supplements, it's just optimal health stuff.
Got it.
A lot of people should be taking anyway.
All right, man. Well, we'll be sure to link you up, let everybody know. Check out Jay Vincent on YouTube. Brother, I really appreciate your help here today.
Glad, man. You did good.
Yep, we'll do it again next time.
All right, yeah.
Done.